Naomi Carter never expected her routine errand to end in handcuffs. A respected Homeland Security agent, she's suddenly arrested by a corrupt cop who has no idea who he's dealing with. As the officer mocks and roughs her up, Naomi stays calm. She knows something much bigger is at play here. But what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Before we continue, let me know. Where are you watching from? What city or country are you tuning in from today? The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting an eerie glow on the dingy walls of a small-town police precinct. Naomi Carter sat in the back of a police cruiser, her wrists chafing against cold metal handcuffs. She stared out the window, her mind racing as she replayed the events of the past hour. "This is ridiculous," she muttered, shifting uncomfortably in her seat. The door swung open, and Sergeant Trent Walker's sneering face appeared. "How'd you go, sweetheart? Welcome to your new home for the night." Naomi's jaw clenched as she stepped out of the car. "I've shown you my Homeland Security badge. You have no right to detain me." Trent's laugh was harsh and mocking. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think that fancy badge of yours meant something out here? This is my turf, and I say you're under arrest for obstruction." As he roughly guided her into the station, Naomi's keen eyes scanned her surroundings. Something was off. The officers milled about with an air of nervous energy, exchanging furtive glances and hushed whispers. A young officer caught her attention. His name tag read Reyes, and he watched the scene unfold with visible discomfort. Their eyes met briefly, and Naomi saw a flicker of sympathy before he quickly looked away. Trent shoved her towards a holding cell. "Enjoy your stay, Agent Carter. Maybe next time you'll think twice before sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." As the cell door clanged shut, Naomi's mind whirred. This was more than just racism or small-town power play. Trent was hiding something big, and she was determined to find out what. Hours ticked by, and Naomi's worry grew. Her team would be looking for her by now, but would they know where to start? She needed to make contact, but every attempt was thwarted by Trent or one of his cronies. A commotion near the front desk caught her attention. Officer Reyes was arguing with another cop, his voice low but intense. "This isn't right, and you know it," Reyes hissed. "We can't just—" "Shut it, rookie," the other officer growled. "You want to keep your job, then stay out of it." Naomi's ears perked up. She needed an ally, and Reyes might be her best shot. "We passed by her cell later," she called out softly. "Officer Reyes, can I speak with you for a moment?" He hesitated, glancing around nervously before approaching. "I shouldn't be talking to you." "I know," Naomi said, her voice calm and steady. "But I think you know something's not right here. I'm not looking for trouble. I just want to understand what's going on." Reyes shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I can't. It's complicated." "I get it," Naomi nodded. "But sometimes doing the right thing isn't easy. It takes courage." Before Reyes could respond, Trent's voice boomed across the room. "Hey, what did I say about talking to the prisoner?" Reyes scurried away, leaving Naomi alone once more. But she'd seen the conflict in his eyes. The seed had been planted. As night fell, the station grew quieter. Naomi strained to hear snippets of conversation, piecing together a disturbing picture. Mentions of shipments, payoffs, and cover-ups painted a clear image of corruption. Just as she was beginning to form a theory, the cell door swung open. Trent stood there, a malicious glint in his eye. "Time for a little chat, Agent Carter," he sneered, roughly grabbing her arm. Naomi stumbled as he dragged her to an interrogation room, shoving her into a chair. "You've been asking a lot of questions, sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." "I'm a federal agent," Naomi said, her voice steady despite the fear churning in her gut. "You're obstructing justice by holding me here." Trent's laugh was cold. "Justice? You don't know the first thing about justice in this town. We make our own rules here." "Is that what you call it?" Naomi's eyes narrowed. "Seems to me like you're running your own little kingdom. What is it, Trent? Drugs? Weapons?" His hand shot out, gripping her throat. "You'd better watch your mouth, girl. You have no idea who you're dealing with." Naomi gasped for air, her hands clawing at his grip. Just then, the door burst open. "Sergeant." It was Reyes, his eyes wide with shock. "What are you doing?" Trent released Naomi, turning to face the young officer. "This doesn't concern you, Reyes. Get out." But Reyes stood his ground. "Sir, this isn't right. She's a federal agent. We can't." "I said get out," Trent roared, advancing on Reyes. In that moment of distraction, Naomi acted. She lunged forward, using her training to knock Trent off balance. But he was quicker than she anticipated. He spun around, his fist connecting with her jaw. Pain exploded through Naomi's head as she stumbled back. Trent followed up with a vicious kick to her ribs, sending her crashing to the floor. "Stop!" Reyes yelled, moving to intervene. Trent rounded on him. "You want to join her? Huh? Is that what you want?" Reyes faltered, his courage wavering in the face of Trent's rage. Naomi struggled to her feet, tasting blood. "It's okay," she managed, locking eyes with Reyes. "Go. This isn't your fight." With a last, conflicted look, Reyes retreated. Trent turned back to Naomi, his face twisted with fury. "You think you're so smart," he snarled, "but you have no idea what you've stumbled into. This goes way beyond me, beyond this town. You're in over your head, Agent Carter." Naomi straightened, ignoring the pain in her side. "Then enlighten me, Sergeant. What exactly am I dealing with?" Trent's smile was cold. "Oh, you'll find out soon enough. But by then, it'll be too late." He grabbed her arm, dragging her back towards the holding cells. As they passed the front desk, Naomi caught sight of a familiar face on the security monitors. Her heart sank. Captain Amanda Jones, the precinct's leader, was engaged in a heated discussion with a man Naomi recognized as a local crime boss. The pieces clicked into place. This wasn't just Trent's operation. The entire precinct was compromised. As Trent shoved her back into the cell, Naomi's mind raced. She needed to get word to her team, and fast. But with the entire precinct potentially involved, who could she trust? Her gaze fell on Reyes, who was watching her with a mixture of guilt and concern. He was her only hope now. As night settled over the small town, Naomi Carter found herself trapped in a web of corruption far larger than she'd ever imagined. With time running out and danger closing in from all sides, she knew she had to act fast. But in a place where justice seemed to have no meaning, could she find a way to expose the truth before it was too late? The answer, she realized, might lie in the most unlikely of allies. As she caught Reyes' eye once more, Naomi saw a flicker of determination. Maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. But the night was far from over, and Naomi knew that the Real fight was only just beginning. With her freedom, her career, and possibly her life on the line, she steeled herself for the battle ahead. In this corrupt little town, she was about to learn just how far some people would go to protect their secrets, and how much courage it would take to bring them down. The night stretched on endlessly for Naomi Carter, each passing minute a reminder of her precarious situation. She paced her cell, mind racing, searching for a way out of this corrupt web she'd stumbled into. A commotion outside her cell caught her attention. Sergeant Trent Walker's gruff voice carried down the hallway. "We need to move her tonight. Thomas and his team are getting too close." Naomi's heart raced. Her colleague, Marcus, was looking for her. But Trent's words sent a chill down her spine. Move her could only mean one thing. They planned to make her disappear. Officer Alex Reyes stood nearby, his face a mask of conflicting emotions. Naomi caught his eye, silently pleading for help. He looked away, shame etched across his features. As Trent's footsteps faded, Naomi pressed herself against the bars. "Alex," she whispered urgently, "you know this isn't right. Whatever they're involved in, it's bigger than just this precinct. Help me, and we can expose it all." Alex's eyes darted nervously. "I can't. My career, my family. Sometimes doing the right thing means risking everything," Naomi pressed. "But if we don't stand up to corruption, who will?" Before Alex could respond, Captain Amanda Jones rounded the corner, her steely gaze fixed on Naomi. Comfortable, Agent Carter? I hope you're enjoying our hospitality. Naomi's jaw clenched. Captain, I demand to speak with my superiors. This detention is illegal, and you know it. Amanda's laugh was cold. Oh, sweetie, you really don't understand how things work around here, do you? Your badge means nothing in my precinct. As Amanda turned to leave, she paused by Alex. Keep an eye on her. We move at midnight. The hours crawled by, each tick of the clock a countdown to Naomi's uncertain fate. She tried every trick she knew, looking for weak points in the cell, attempting to pick the lock, even trying to pry information from the few officers who passed by. But Trent had planned well. She was trapped. Just when despair threatened to overwhelm her, a soft voice broke the silence. Psst, Agent Carter. Alex stood at her cell door, eyes wide with fear and determination. I can't let them do this. It's wrong. I became a cop to help people, not this. Relief flooded through Naomi. Thank you, Alex. You're doing the right thing. With shaking hands, Alex unlocked the cell. We don't have much time. Trent and his guys are changing shifts. If we're quick, we might just make out. They crept through the darkened precinct, every shadow a potential threat. As they neared the exit, a door slammed nearby. Trent's angry voice echoed down the hall. Where is she? Find her now. Panic surged through Naomi. She grabbed Alex's arm, pulling him towards a side door. They burst out into the cool night air, alarms blaring behind them. My car, Alex gasped, fumbling for his keys. It's just around the corner. They sprinted through the parking lot, footsteps pounding on asphalt. Shouts and the screech of tires filled the air as Trent and his men gave chase. Alex's beat-up sedan roared to life, tires squealing as they peeled out of the lot. In the rearview mirror, Naomi saw Trent's furious face as he barked orders into his radio. Where can we go? Alex asked, knuckles white on the steering wheel. Naomi's mind raced. We need to find Marcus. He'll have resources, protection. But first, we need evidence. Anything to prove what's happening in that precinct. They drove through the outskirts of Charlotte, constantly checking for pursuit. Alex filled Naomi in on what he knew. Snippets of overheard conversations, suspicious deliveries, officers living well beyond their means. It's not just drugs, Alex explained, his voice tight. Weapons, too. And I think they might be involved in human trafficking. Naomi's stomach churned. The depth of the corruption was staggering. We need proof, Alex. Concrete evidence that ties it all together. A memory flickered in Alex's eyes. Wait, there might be something. Last week, I overheard Trent talking about a safe house. Someplace they used to store records, maybe. Hope surged through Naomi. Can you find it? Alex nodded grimly. I think so. But Naomi, if we're caught. She squeezed his arm. We won't be. You've already shown more courage than most. We can do this. They drove in tense silence, winding through back roads and abandoned industrial areas. Finally, Alex pulled up to a dilapidated warehouse. This is it, he whispered. I saw Trent here once, exchanging something with a guy I didn't recognize. Naomi's training kicked in. She scanned the area, looking for security cameras or guards. Okay, let's move. Quick and quiet. They slipped inside, using Alex's phone as a flashlight. The warehouse was a maze of crates and old machinery. In the back, they found a locked office. Stand back, Naomi warned. With a swift kick, she broke the door open. Inside, they hit the jackpot. Filing cabinets lined the walls, stuffed with papers. Naomi rifled through them, her heart pounding. This is it, she breathed. Shipping manifests, payoff records. Alex, this ties everything together. The drugs, the weapons, even names of politicians involved. Alex's face was pale in the dim light. We did it. We actually did it. A noise outside made them both freeze. Car doors slammed, and familiar voices drifted through the night air. They're here. Naomi hissed. "We need to move now." They grabbed what they could, stuffing papers into their jackets. As they crept towards the exit, a shot rang out, shattering the window above them. "Carter." Trent's voice boomed. "I know you're in there. Come out now, and maybe I'll let your little friend live." Naomi's mind raced. They were cornered, outgunned, and out of options. She turned to Alex, seeing the fear in his eyes. "Listen to me," she said urgently. "You've done more than enough. I'll create a distraction. When I do, you run. Get these papers to Marcus Thomas at Homeland Security. He'll know what to do." Alex shook his head. "No, I can't leave you." "You have to," Naomi insisted. "This is bigger than both of us now. Promise me, Alex." After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. Naomi squeezed his hand, then took a deep breath. In one fluid motion, she kicked over a stack of crates and sprinted towards the far end of the warehouse. "There she is," Trent shouted. "Get her." Gunshots peppered the air as Naomi zigzagged through the maze of machinery. She caught a glimpse of Alex slipping out a side door, clutching the precious documents to his chest. Relief flooded through her, even as rough hands grabbed her from behind. She'd done it. The evidence was safe. Trent's face loomed in front of her, twisted with rage. "You've caused me a lot of trouble, Agent Carter, but it ends now." As they dragged her outside, Naomi's eyes widened in shock. Standing by a black SUV was Captain Amanda Jones, her expression cold and calculating. "I'm disappointed, Naomi," Amanda said. "I thought you were smarter than this." Realization dawned. Amanda wasn't just covering for Trent. She was orchestrating the whole operation. "You won't get away with this," Naomi spat. "The truth will come out." Amanda's smile was chilling. "Oh, I don't think so. You see, by the time anyone finds you, well, let's just say accidents happen all the time in our line of work." As they shove her into the SUV, Naomi's mind raced. She'd uncovered the truth, but at what cost? Alex was out there, alone with damning evidence. Her only hope now was that he would make it to Marcus in time. The SUV peeled away into the night, carrying Naomi towards an uncertain fate. But even in the face of betrayal and corruption, a small flame of hope burned within her. She'd sparked a chain of events that could bring down this entire corrupt network. Now, it was up to an unlikely hero, a young, idealistic cop named Alex Reyes, to see it through. As the city lights faded behind them, Naomi closed her eyes. She'd fought for justice her entire career, facing discrimination and doubt at every turn. Now, in the darkest moment of her life, she clung to the belief that good would triumph over evil, that truth and justice would prevail, no matter the cost. The road stretched out before them, dark and foreboding, but somewhere out there, a glimmer of hope raced through the night, carried by a man who had found the courage to stand up for what was right. And in that moment, despite the danger that surrounded her, Naomi allowed herself a small smile. The fight wasn't over yet. The black SUV sped through the night, carrying Naomi deeper into uncertainty. Her mind raced, calculating odds and searching for a way out. Captain Amanda Jones sat beside her, a smug smile playing on her lips. "You know, Carter, I almost admire your tenacity," Amanda said, breaking the tense silence. "It's a shame you couldn't see the bigger picture." Naomi's eyes narrowed. "And what picture is that? Corruption, greed, betraying everything the badge stands for." Amanda laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Oh, please, spare me the righteous act. You have no idea how this world really works." The SUV lurched to a stop. Naomi's heart pounded as Trent yanked open the door, roughly pulling her out. They stood before an abandoned warehouse, its windows dark and foreboding. "Welcome to your new home, Agent Carter," Trent sneered. "Hope you enjoy your stay." Inside, the air was thick with dust and the lingering scent of chemicals. Naomi's trained eye caught glimpses of drug manufacturing equipment hastily hidden behind crates and tarps. "Impressive operation you've got here," Naomi said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "I'm sure the DA would love a tour." Trent's fist connected with her stomach, driving the air from her lungs. As she doubled over, gasping, Amanda's voice cut through the pain. "Enough, Trent. We need her alive. For now." Naomi straightened, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You won't get away with this. My team will find me." Amanda's smile was chilling. "Oh, I'm counting on it. In fact, I've made sure they'll find exactly what we want them to find." A cold dread settled in Naomi's stomach as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about silencing her. They were setting a trap. Across town, Alex Reyes clutched the stolen documents to his chest, his heart pounding as he navigated the dark streets. Every shadow seemed to hide a threat, every passing car a potential pursuer. He fumbled with his phone, dialing the number Naomi had given him. After 3 agonizing rings, a voice answered. "This is Agent Thomas." Alex's words tumbled out in a rush. "Agent Thomas, my name is Alex Reyes. I'm with Naomi Carter. She's been taken by corrupt officers. I have evidence, but they're after me. I need help." There was a pause. Then Marcus's voice sharpened. "Where are you?" "I'm sending a team now." As Alex gave his location, a flicker of hope ignited in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, they could still save Naomi and expose the truth. Back at the warehouse, Naomi tested her bonds, searching for any weakness. Her wrists were raw from the tight zip ties, but she refused to give up. A commotion outside caught her attention. Raised voices, the sound of a scuffle. Then, to her shock, Alex was shoved into the room, his face bruised and bloody. "Alex, what happened? How did they?" "Shut up," Trent barked, following close behind. He turned to Amanda, his face twisted with rage. "This little rat was trying to contact Homeland Security. We caught him just in time." Amanda's eyes narrowed. "And the documents?" Trent held up a thick manila envelope. "Right here. Looks like our friend Carter was busy before we nabbed her." Naomi's heart sank. All their evidence, their only hope of exposing the corruption, now in the hands of the enemy. Amanda smiled, cold and calculating. "Perfect. Now we can move to phase 2. As she outlined her plan, Naomi felt a chill run down her spine. They weren't just covering their tracks. They were planning to frame her and Alex for the entire operation. Hours passed in tense silence. Naomi's mind raced, searching for a way out. She caught Alex's eye, seeing the same determination reflected there. They weren't beaten yet. A commotion outside broke the stillness. Shouts, the sound of breaking glass. Trent burst in, his face pale. "They're here. Homeland Security, FBI, the whole damn cavalry." Amanda's composure cracked for the first time. "How? We covered our tracks." As chaos erupted around them, Naomi saw her chance. With a swift motion, she hooked her leg around Amanda's ankle, sending her crashing to the ground. In the confusion, she managed to grab a shard of broken glass, sawing frantically at her bonds. "Alex," she called, "can you reach the documents?" He nodded, straining against his own restraints. With a final push, Naomi broke free, rushing to help Alex. Just as they retrieved the precious envelope, Trent appeared in the doorway, gun raised. "Don't move," he snarled. "It's over, Carter. You've lost." Naomi stood tall, her eyes blazing with determination. "No, Trent. It's you who's lost. Your corruption ends here." In that moment, several things happened at once. A flash grenade exploded outside, temporarily blinding Trent. Naomi lunged forward, disarming him with a swift move. And through the smoke and chaos, a familiar voice rang out. "Homeland Security. Everyone on the ground." Marcus Thomas burst into the room, flanked by a team of agents. His eyes widened as he took in the scene. "Naomi, are you all right?" She nodded, relief washing over her. "We're okay, Marcus. And we've got everything we need to bring these bastards down." As the dust settled and arrests were made, a startling revelation came to light. Detective Richard Langley, who they had believed to be part of the corrupt network, stepped forward. "Agent Carter," he said, his voice heavy with regret, "I owe you an apology and an explanation." It turned out Langley had been working undercover for months, gathering evidence on the corruption ring. His apparent complicity had been a carefully crafted ruse, designed to gain the trust of Trent and Amanda. "We've been building this case for years," Langley explained. "When you stumbled into it, we had to adapt quickly. I'm sorry for the danger we put you in." Naomi's mind reeled at the implications. The depth of the corruption, the layers of deception. It was staggering. As dawn broke over Charlotte, Naomi stood outside the warehouse, watching as Trent and Amanda were led away in handcuffs. Alex joined her, his face a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "I can't believe it's over," he said softly. Naomi turned to him, a newfound respect in her eyes. "It's not over, Alex. It's just the beginning. There's still so much work to do, so many systems to change." He nodded, determination replacing the weariness in his eyes. "I want to help, whatever it takes to make things right." As they walked towards the waiting vehicles, Naomi reflected on the events that had brought them here. The corruption they'd uncovered went beyond simple greed or power. It was a symptom of deeper, systemic issues. Racial prejudice, abuse of authority, the toxic culture that allowed such corruption to flourish. But in Alex, in Langley's undercover work, in her own team's unwavering support, she saw hope. Change was possible, one brave action at a time. Marcus approached, a grim smile on his face. "Hell of a night, Carter. You ready to give your statement?" Naomi nodded, then paused. "Actually, there's something I need to do first." She turned to Alex, extending her hand. "Thank you for everything. Your courage, your integrity. It made all the difference." Alex took her hand, his grip firm and sure. "I just did what was right, what you taught me to do." As they walked towards the waiting agents, Naomi felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight for justice was far from over, but tonight had proven that even in the darkest corners, light could prevail. The sun rose over Charlotte, painting the sky in hues of hope. Naomi Carter stood tall, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Because now she knew change was possible, one brave soul at a time. The dank air of the hidden warehouse pressed down on Naomi as she fought against her restraints. Her wrists burned from the tight zip ties, but the fire in her eyes remained unquenched. Across the room, Alex sat slumped against a pillar, his face a canvas of bruises and determination. Trent's smug voice cut through the silence. "Comfortable, Agent Carter? Don't worry, you won't be here long." Naomi's lips curled into a defiant smirk. "You're right about that, Trent. This ends today." A flicker of uncertainty crossed Trent's face before he masked it with bravado. "Big words from someone in your position. Face it, Carter. You've lost." As Trent turned away, Naomi caught Alex's eye. A silent understanding passed between them. They weren't beaten yet. Hours crawled by, each moment a battle against despair. Naomi's mind raced, analyzing every detail of their surroundings. A loose nail here, a rusted pipe there. Potential weapons, if only they could reach them. The sound of approaching footsteps jolted them to attention. Captain Amanda Jones strode in, her crisp uniform a stark contrast to the grimy warehouse. "Well, well," Amanda drawled. The mighty Naomi Carter, brought low at last. "I must admit, you've been a thorn in our side for far too long." Naomi met her gaze unflinchingly. "And you've been a disgrace to that uniform for even longer. How does it feel, Amanda, betraying everything you swore to protect?" Amanda's hand lashed out, striking Naomi across the face. "You know nothing about protection. We're keeping order, maintaining the balance. Sometimes that requires difficult choices." Choices. Naomi spat blood onto the concrete floor. "You chose greed over justice. Corruption over honor. There's no balance in that." As Amanda opened her mouth to retort, a commotion erupted outside. Shouts, and the sound of breaking glass shattered the tense atmosphere. Trent burst in, his face pale with panic. "They've found us. Homeland Security, FBI, they're everywhere." Amanda's composure cracked. "How?" "We covered our tracks." In the chaos that followed, Naomi saw her chance. With a swift motion, she hooked her leg around Amanda's ankle, sending her crashing to the ground. The captain's head struck the concrete with a sickening thud. "Alex." Naomi called out, "Can you reach that pipe?" Alex strained against his bonds, inching towards a rusted piece of metal jutting from the wall. With a grunt of effort, he managed to grasp it, using the edge to saw through his zip ties. As Alex freed himself and rushed to help Naomi, Trent reappeared in the doorway, gun raised. "Don't move," he snarled, his hand shaking. "It's over, Carter. You've lost." Naomi stood tall, her eyes blazing with determination. "No, Trent. It's you who's lost. Your corruption ends here." In that moment, several things happened at once. A flash grenade exploded outside, temporarily blinding Trent. Naomi lunged forward, her newly freed hands grasping for the gun. They grappled, the weapon between them a deadly prize. A shot rang out. Time seemed to freeze as Trent stumbled backward, a look of shock on his face. He collapsed to the ground, clutching his shoulder. Through the smoke and chaos, a familiar voice rang out. "Homeland Security. Everyone on the ground." Marcus Thomas burst into the room, flanked by a team of agents. His eyes widened as he took in the scene. "Naomi, are you all right?" She nodded, relief washing over her. "We're okay, Marcus. And we've got everything we need to bring these bastards down." As the dust settled and arrests were made, a startling revelation came to light. Detective Richard Langley stepped forward, his face a mask of regret and resolve. "Agent Carter," he said, his voice heavy, "I owe you an explanation and an apology." Langley revealed that he had been working undercover for months, gathering evidence on the corruption ring. His apparent complicity had been a carefully crafted ruse, designed to gain the trust of Trent and Amanda. "We've been building this case for years," Langley explained. "When you stumbled into it, we had to adapt quickly. I'm sorry for the danger we put you in." Naomi's mind reeled at the implications. The depth of the corruption, the layers of deception. It was staggering. As dawn broke over Charlotte, Naomi stood outside the warehouse, watching as Trent and Amanda were led away in handcuffs. Alex joined her, his face a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "I can't believe it's over," he said softly. Naomi turned to him, a newfound respect in her eyes. "It's not over, Alex. It's just the beginning. There's still so much work to do, so many systems to change." He nodded, determination replacing the weariness in his eyes. "I want to help, whatever it takes to make things right." As they walked towards the waiting vehicles, Naomi reflected on the events that had brought them here. The corruption they'd uncovered went beyond simple greed or power. It was a symptom of deeper, systemic issues. Racial prejudice, abuse of authority, the toxic culture that allowed such corruption to flourish. But in Alex, in Langley's undercover work, in her own team's unwavering support, she saw hope. Change was possible, one brave action at a time. Marcus approached, a grim smile on his face. "Hell of a night, Carter. You ready to give your statement?" Naomi nodded, then paused. "Actually, there's something I need to do first." She turned to Alex, extending her hand. "Thank you for everything. Your courage, your integrity. It made all the difference." Alex took her hand, his grip firm and sure. "I just did what was right, what you taught me to do." As they walked towards the waiting agents, Naomi felt a renewed sense of purpose. The fight for justice was far from over, but tonight had proven that even in the darkest corners, light could prevail. In the days that followed, the full extent of the corruption ring was revealed. The evidence Naomi and Alex had uncovered, combined with Langley's undercover work, led to dozens of arrests across multiple precincts. The shockwaves rippled through the entire law enforcement community. Naomi found herself at the center of a media storm, hailed as a hero for exposing the corruption. But as she stood before a sea of cameras and microphones, she felt a weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. "This isn't about one corrupt precinct or a handful of bad officers," she said, her voice steady and clear. "This is about a system that allowed such corruption to flourish. We have a long way to go in addressing the root causes: racial bias, unchecked power, and a culture of silence. But today, we've taken a crucial step forward." As the press conference ended, Naomi spotted Alex in the crowd. He gave her a small nod, a gesture of solidarity and shared purpose. Later, as they sat in a quiet corner of the Homeland Security office, Alex revealed the final piece of the puzzle. "I've been gathering evidence for months," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Ever since I first noticed something was off in the precinct. I couldn't go to internal affairs. I didn't know who to trust. So I started keeping records, building a case on my own." Naomi stared at him, a mix of admiration and shock on her face. "Why didn't you tell me?" Alex's smile was tinged with sadness. "I wasn't sure if I could trust anyone, but when you showed up, when I saw how you stood up to Trent, I knew you were different. You gave me the courage to finally act." As the weight of his words sank in, Naomi felt a surge of emotion. This young officer, who she had initially underestimated, had been fighting the same battle all along. "Alex," she said, her voice thick with feeling, "what you did, it was incredibly brave and incredibly dangerous. You risked everything to do the right thing." He shrugged, a hint of his old shyness returning. "I learned from the best." In that moment, Naomi saw the future of law enforcement, not in the corrupt old guard, but in officers like Alex. Those willing to stand up for what's right, no matter the cost. As they prepared to part ways, Naomi turned to Alex one last time. "You know, sometimes even the most unlikely people make the best partners in crime or justice." Alex's laugh was genuine, a sound of hope and new beginnings. "Partners in justice," he agreed. "I like the sound of that." As Naomi walked out into the bright Charlotte sunshine, she felt a sense of possibility she hadn't experienced in years. The road ahead was long and fraught with challenges, but she was no longer walking it alone. The corrupt system they had exposed was just the tip of the iceberg, but with allies like Alex, with the courage to stand up and speak out, real change was possible. One brave soul at a time, they would build a better, more just world. Naomi Carter smiled, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Because now she knew, in the fight for justice, no act of courage was ever truly small. And sometimes, the most unlikely heroes could make the greatest difference of all.